Hey everyone, and welcome back. Have you noticed the price of avocados going up lately?
Yeah.
Like way up.
Yeah, seems like you need to take out a loan for guacamole these days.
Right. Well, get this. It could be because of a trade war. We're taking a deep dive into this today.
A trade war, huh?
Yeah, using this article from the Times of India. Apparently, President Trump, he put tariffs on some of our biggest trading partners. China, Canada, Mexico.
Whoa.
Yeah, so we got to figure out why he did that
Right.
and like what the impact's been,
Right.
for all of us.
I mean, the timing of it all is really interesting. The article mentions that, like, right when he was doing all this tariff stuff,
Wow.
President Trump was also, trying to be all peacemakery with that whole Russia-Ukraine thing.
Oh, yeah. Trying to position himself as the guy to bring everyone together.
Exactly. It seems kind of, I don't know, contradictory, maybe.
Yeah, a little bit. So what do you think is going on? What's the real story here?
Well, the Times of India, they say there are a few reasons why Trump might have gone this route with the tariffs.
Okay, lay it on me.
They say he was trying to tackle the opioid crisis. Like all that fentanyl coming in,
Oh, right. Fentanyl's a huge problem.
Yeah, it's devastating. And the article also says he wanted to shrink our trade deficit.
We always hear about that. Trade deficit this, trade deficit that.
And then, of course, he wanted to bring back manufacturing jobs to the U.S.
Okay, so the opioid thing, it's been really bad here in the U.S.
Yeah.
So many people,
Yeah.
losing their lives. Do you think these tariffs are the way to go about fixing it, though?
I don't know. I mean, it's a really tough situation. But tariffs, they mainly hit legal goods, right? The stuff coming in through the proper channels.
Yeah, that's true.
Most of the fentanyl's not coming in like that. It's being smuggled in illegally.
That makes sense.
So if we want to get serious about stopping fentanyl, we need to beef up border security, work with other countries to, like, shut down those illegal supply chains.
Okay, I gotcha. So let's move on to the trade deficit thing. The article says it's like $1.2 trillion.
Yeah, trillion with a T.
That's a lot of zeros. What does that even mean for, normal people like me? Like, break it down for us.
Sure. So basically, a trade deficit means we're buying a lot more stuff from other countries than we're selling to them.
Oh, okay.
Like, imagine if you spent way more each month than you earned.
Yeah, I'd be in trouble.
Exactly. And a small trade deficit, it's not always a bad thing. But when it gets really big like this,
Uh-oh.
it can cause some problems.
Like what?
Well, for one thing, it makes us really dependent on other countries for all sorts of stuff.
So if something goes wrong somewhere else, it could really mess us up.
Exactly. Plus, companies move their factories overseas because it's cheaper. So we lose manufacturing jobs here.
Right.
And then, it makes our whole economy kind of shaky, like one little hiccup in global trade.
And we're all feeling it.
Exactly. So Trump, with these tariffs, he wanted to shrink that trade deficit, get more stuff made here, and basically, boost the U.S. economy.
Yeah, I get the idea.
Mm-hmm.
But the article also says these tariffs could make things more expensive for us here. Like, they specifically mention avocados.
Avocados, really?
Yeah. Are we all going to be eating, like, avocado toast as a luxury item now?
Well, here's the thing. When you make it more expensive to bring stuff in from other countries,
Okay.
those extra costs, they usually pass down to us. We end up paying more for things.
Right.
Basic economics, supply and demand. The article mentions we might see higher prices for fruits, vegetables, even cars from Mexico, and stuff like electronics and appliances from China, too.
So even if we are making more stuff here and relying less on other countries, we might end up paying more for everything.
Yeah.
Especially tough for families who are already struggling.
Yeah, it's a trade-off. And there's something else to consider, too. Something called retaliatory tariffs.
What's that?
It's kind of like a back and forth thing. We put tariffs on their stuff, and then they hit back with tariffs on our stuff. The article says Canada and Mexico, they've already announced retaliatory tariffs on U.S. goods, tit for tat.
So it's like we slap them, they slap us back, and in the end, everyone just ends up with a sore face.
Pretty much. And that's where things can really get messy.
Yeah, I bet. So we put tariffs on their goods, they put tariffs on ours? Doesn't that just make everything more expensive for everybody? Like, couldn't that hurt American businesses and consumers even more?
That's the big question, isn't it? Yeah, it could. It's like we're trying to protect our own industries, but it can backfire. And then there's the whole stock market thing, right?
Oh, right. The article mentions that the U.S. stock market kind of took a dive after these tariffs were announced. Why is that?
Well, the stock market hates uncertainty. And these tariffs, They create a lot of it. Businesses, especially those that do business internationally, they need to be able to plan for the future. They want to know what to expect.
Predictability, right?
Exactly. But when you throw tariffs into the mix, it's like, who knows what's going to happen? Suddenly their costs go up, maybe their supply chains get messed up, and they might lose business because of those retaliatory tariffs.
Makes sense.
So all that uncertainty makes investors nervous.
Yeah.
And when investors get nervous,
They sell their stocks.
bingo. And that can cause the whole market to drop.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about the downsides of these tariffs. But are there any arguments for them? I mean, some people must think they're a good idea, right?
Sure. There are definitely two sides to this story. Some people argue that tariffs are necessary to protect American businesses from unfair competition from other countries.
Okay. How so?
Well, some countries might be dumping goods here, selling them for super cheap, even below cost, just to try to take over the market.
Oh, I see. Undercutting everyone.
Yeah, exactly. Or they might be giving their own companies big subsidies so they have an unfair advantage. In those cases, some people say tariffs help to level the playing field and protect American jobs.
I guess that's fair. It's like making sure everyone's playing by the same rules. But how do you decide what's fair in global trade? It seems pretty complicated.
It is. I mean, different countries have different economic systems, different priorities. What one country considers unfair, another might see as totally normal. And that's where things get tricky. Because trade disputes, they're not just about economics. There's politics involved, national security, and international relations, too.
Wow. So we started with avocado prices,
Mm-hmm.
and now we're talking about, global power struggle.
It's all connected. And that's what makes this stuff so interesting and, kind of mind-boggling at the same time.
Yeah, definitely. To really understand this whole trade war thing, you have to look at it from all sides. Think about the different perspectives.
Exactly. There are usually valid points on both sides of the argument.
So let's do a quick recap. President Trump put tariffs on goods from China, Canada, Mexico. He said he was trying to stop fentanyl, shrink the trade deficit, and bring back manufacturing jobs to the U.S.
Right.
But, there are concerns that these tariffs will make things more expensive for us here, lead to retaliatory tariffs, maybe even destabilize the economy. And then there's that whole thing about the stock market.
Yeah, it's a mixed bag.
We also talked about how some people actually support tariffs, especially if they think it'll protect American businesses from unfair competition.
Yeah. It all comes down to finding that balance, right?
Yeah.
Trying to protect your own interests while still being part of this big global economy.
Right. A balancing act. And speaking of which, the article mentions that President Trump is supposed to give a speech to Congress soon, and the theme of this speech is the renewal of the American dream.
The renewal of the American dream. Interesting.
It makes you think, doesn't it? What does the American dream even mean in today's world? With globalization and everything, Can tariffs really bring back that American dream? Or will they just make things harder for, everyday Americans?
Big questions. And it'll be interesting to see how President Trump tackles them in that speech. He's basically making this trade war sound like a fight for the future of the American economy, like a way to bring back manufacturing jobs, make us strong again.
Yeah. But, like we talked about, there's that other side to things. The higher prices, other countries hitting back with their own tariffs, maybe even hurting the economy, not helping it. And don't forget about those potential problems with our allies.
It's true. Anytime you try to mess with something as complex as the global economy, there are risks. There's no way to know exactly what will happen.
So many moving parts.
Exactly. That's why it's important to be a little skeptical, think critically about everything you hear, and, look at it from different angles.
Okay, so for our listeners who are trying to wrap their heads around all this, what advice would you give them? How should they think about this trade war and what it could mean for them?
Stay informed. Read articles from good sources, listen to what experts are saying, people with different viewpoints, and talk about it with others. Don't just believe the headlines. Dig a little deeper, ask questions, and don't be afraid to challenge your own ideas.
I like that. And it kind of goes back to what we were talking about before, right? How everything's connected. We started with avocado prices, and we ended up talking about globalization, economic policies, international relations.
It's all one big web. And I think that's what's so cool about this conversation. Even something as simple as the price of groceries can be affected by huge global forces, stuff we can't really control. But if we understand those forces, stay informed, and talk to each other, we can be smarter citizens. We can make better choices for ourselves, our families, our country.
So well said. This has been such an eye-opening deep dive. We've all learned a lot about this trade war, how complicated it is, and what it could mean for that whole American dream idea.
Glad we could explore it together.
And to all our listeners out there, thanks for being with us on this journey. We hope you enjoyed the deep dive and keep asking those questions, stay curious, and keep learning. We'll see you next time.